Thank You for Smoking is a 2006 satirical comedy and the directorial debut of Jason Reitman, who is the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed films like Ghostbusters and National Lampoon's Vacation. Wait. Thank You for Smoking is a 2016 satirical comedy film and is the directorial debut of Jason Reitman, who is the son of Ivan Reitman, who actually directed Ghostbusters and National Lampoon's Animal House, not Vacation. I don't know why I said that. Based on the 1994 satirical novel of the same name, the film follows Nick Naylor, a lobbyist for Big Tobacco, who, while fighting a battle against this Vermont senator that wants to make consumers think twice before they buy any cigarettes, he's also trying to remain a good role model for his son from his divorced marriage. While the supporting cast is actually pretty fantastic overall, with a couple of exceptions, but I'll get into those later, I'm mainly going to focus on the main performance from Aaron Eckhart, who we all know as Harvey Two-Face from the Dark Knight trilogy. In this, he plays Nick Naylor, whose official title is Vice President of the Academy for Tobacco Studies, which is a lobby section that researches, you see all the air quotes I'm giving, researches the effects of smoking on consumers and its connected health problems. So basically he's lobbying in Congress for smoking. And he's also part of a made-up group that consists of himself, a lobbyist for firearms, and a lobbyist for alcohol. They call themselves the Merchants of Death, the Mod Squad. Kind of a cool name. Obviously, Eckhart gives a phenomenal performance in this. I mean, that's not really up to question. It's Aaron Eckhart. I mean, you know, we expect this from him. But really, I want to talk more about Nick Naylor, the character, because this is a very interesting character. This is a character that, because he's on the side of tobacco, would almost always be seen as a villain to society. And if they were making another movie, honestly, they would... a lobbyist for tobacco would probably be the main villain, or at least a side villain in a normal story. But the way that he is set up in the first 5 minutes, where he is giving a compelling reason for a cancer patient to smoke, he's so charming and charismatic that you just love him immediately, and you just see how intelligent he is because of how he was able to turn an audience who otherwise hates him on his side. And it only becomes more apparent as the film goes on just how much, how much you love the character, because, you see that he's a guy who loves his job, is really damn good at the job, but really at the end of the day, he's just a divorced dad who's trying to spend time with and connect more on a personal level with his 12-year-old son. I will go on a bit more about him while I get to the rest of the film, and why those aspects are particularly amazing, because really that's important. So why is this film so groundbreaking and ahead of its time? Well, like I said, it came out in 2006, and it actually showed a very balanced view of both sides. They showed the tobacco corporations using heavy spin tactics to convince their customers and new people to just continue buying their products. But we also see the other side of the coin, the senators and the politicians in our government who fight the battle against the industries. And for that, we actually have the Vermont Senator Orland Finister. Pretty weird name, I know. And he wants to put this really big picture on all cigarette cartons, blatantly saying that cigarettes are poison. And the person who we would normally see as a villain, or at least, a hero, would normally see as a hero in our society, they show that he also uses propaganda and a few corrupt tactics to promote a healthy lifestyle. And of course, William H. Macy portrays Orland Finister, and he does a great job. And honestly, with everything that his character is and what he means to the film, that's a fucking excellent idea. I mean, how many times do you see something like somebody that we would normally be portrayed as a hero in our society? Why would we see some kind of really big flaw with his tactics? I mean, I've never seen anything like that, or at least on that level, and I think it's amazing. With Nick Naylor, it is amazing that there's a film that can take somebody that we would easily villainize and makes us root for him simply because of how just how likable he is. And unlike the two sides of the battle between tobacco and, you know, healthy choices, Nick actually does have a moral compass. He realizes that it's hard to be a good example for his son because of what he does for a living, and I am starting to get a little bit into spoiler territory, but that's because there's really no other way to talk about it, about another reason why this story is so amazing, but I will try to keep it as vague as possible, but just warning, there will be potential spoilers, you know, going forward. But because of that conflict, he begins to question the morality of his job, and while most films and directors would just have the main character have a change of heart, he realizes that what he does isn't really wrong because it's not up to anyone else what a person does. It's all that matters is that, you know, is the choice that a person makes. All that matters is that they have the choice to do it. He knows that cigarettes are bad, but if a person still chooses to smoke, really, what's wrong with that? And the film isn't even really about smoking or cigarettes specifically, despite the title. It is instead about the message and the theme, which is the importance of choice. And it's apparent by how many times you actually see somebody smoke in the movie. There actually is not one person in the film that smokes. They show a cigarette maybe once or twice in the movie, and the only time that it was apparent to me was when Nick was watching a movie, and it was an old John Wayne movie, and it was one of those World War II epics where they just ended a battle, and, you know, John Wayne is just like, ugh, that was tiring. How about a cigarette? You know, like to all his buddies. And I don't know, cigarettes are just used as a way to symbolize the things that we do with our own bodies. But anyway, the entire overall message, if you want to do something, even if it can be destructive to yourself, you should have the right to choose whatever that thing is and, you know, choose whatever you are to do with it. But the part that is kind of ahead of its time for this movie is that he uses that old-time argument that planes and cars kill millions, but he actually adds in food as causing certain diseases that will end up causing the death of its consumers, with a fair amount of focus on the food aspect. And this film came out before the majority of these documentaries that we're used to these days about how consuming certain types of food can kill you came out. I mean, sure, we had Super Size Me that came out like a year or so before, but in recent years, more and more documentary films have come out just about the same topic, like Fed Up and Fast Food Nation, and really that makes the film a bit ahead of its time. And the way that the film leaves it up to the interpretation of the viewer, is smoking really okay, or are lobbyists who promote a healthier living right, you know, that kind of stuff. And again, it's all up to you. Neither opinion is incorrect, and, you know, even if you do have a differing opinion on it from what those two I just mentioned, I mean, that's okay too. Sadly, I don't think that this film gets the attention that it deserves, because I remember seeing the trailer for it on a DVD when I was a kid, and God, I don't remember what the DVD was, but it had the original movie trailer guy saying the title at the end, you know, thank you for smoking. That's all I remembered. And the way that the trailer looked, because it focused on the first 5 minutes, which is on, or takes place on a TV show, it made it look like it was a really cheap-looking documentary that was arguing about the benefits of smoking. And I didn't think about the film again until my friend from work, Thomas, actually asked me to watch it, because it's his all-time favorite movie. And you know what? I can actually see why. It's a really well-acted film with a smart story that actually made me think about the importance of choice when I wasn't even expecting it. But, of course, that doesn't mean that the film is perfect. I have seen it a couple of times since he told me to watch it the first time, and I have noticed a couple of things. Actually, really, my main issue is that looking at the female characters, besides the lobbyist for alcohol, the female characters aren't written very well. Really, they just come across as one-dimensional jackasses, especially his ex-wife. Mostly, I didn't like the way that they painted her as a bad guy, even though she wasn't right for most of the time. It's just that, you know, it didn't feel like how a real mother would be. Or that's just my opinion. In the end, this is still a really, really good movie, and thanks to my friend, I now have a new comedy to love, and I highly recommend it to anyone who has not seen it to go watch it as soon as possible. I think you'll thank us later. And that's where I end the review. If you liked my video, go ahead, just don't hesitate to hit that like button. And then if you also haven't done so already, please don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button. Actually, yeah, that's it. All that's left to say now is thank you so much for watching, and farewell until the next video.